Testing, testing, testing. Blah, 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 blah.
Ready, set, go.
It's time for the Coach Amy and Coach Liz show.
A podcast for endurance athletes by two athletes, two coaches, and a physical therapist.
We are your hosts, Coach Amy
And Coach Liz.
coming to you from Kansas City. Hello, friends. We're back. We're going to be talking about Olympic trial stuff, I think, today. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And, but first, I was watching on the news yesterday because the Olympics are coming up.
Yes.
In September. And
No, the Olympics are coming up in July. It's July 26th. It starts and it goes for 2 weeks.
yeah, what am I thinking?
I don't know.
Okay.
But this might be airing after the Olympics. It may have passed. What's going on? Anyway.
Oh my God. Okay. Hello. We're here. So what the point is that they were saying how the River Seine wasn't safe to swim in, and so the mayor was like, I will prove to you that we've cleaned it and that it's ready, and I'm going to swim in it. And then they canceled the swim because it wasn't safe.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But I was like, what are they going to do? Because apparently there is no other option.
That's bad.
So are they just not going to have the swim portion of the triathlon and none of the distance swimming events? Or can they not move it to the shore?
I don't know. That is
like, what a logistical nightmare.
I know.
How are they going to solve the problem?
I don't know. And it's so crazy to me that something is like the most high level sports event in the world could be like not have sorted this out like when they had the sports bid, or like what is their backup plan? I mean, I can't imagine. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm going out to do a camp in Boulder and I have backup plans, and that's like just this little peonic event, you know? Like this is the Olympics and you don't have a backup plan?
It's bizarre.
It's crazy to me. I'm sure it is stressing. And it has to be super stressful for those athletes because they want to know where they're going to swim.
Yeah,
and,
or if they're going to get to swim. Like, how weird.
Well, and then you'd have to move the triathlon too, and all those athletes have been training for that course. It's really a bad deal.
Well, okay, so tell me about, because you've had an experience of doing a race in some questionable waters.
I did. So when I did Ironman Texas, I can't even remember what year it was, but they were going to have a swim in this river, and the river was deemed too dirty. And, you know, that horrifies me because I can only imagine like Texas water standards to begin with probably weren't that high. So if it was actually that dirty, I'm just like, But what they did is that they took it and they put us into this like little like sub canal of the river, of the same river, which was super questionable. I'm like, we are still in the same river,
water,
but we're in this thing. And you know, I mean, I've swam in the Ohio River, like, I think I did Ironman Louisville, 3 different times. I mean, I've swam in very questionable waters because that's kind of what happens in triathlon sometimes. And I've learned to keep my mouth shut. Like, it's super important because that will come back to haunt your GI for the rest of your race if you're not really careful. So I've been in situations, I was ready to swim in disgusting water, and I knew that like Texas in the sub-canal of water that was deemed unsafe to swim was going to be super dodgy. And I did my very best to keep my mouth shut, but it came back to haunt me during the run. And I had my watch on auto pause at the time when I finally got to the run. And I couldn't, like, with everything going on, there was also a storm that was like so bad during the run for that race that they made everybody stop on course, but I wasn't going to stop. I was like, you can pull me off, you can disqualify me, but I'm at mile 18 of an Ironman run.
Oh, no way.
And if I'm going to stand there cold and wet from the rain, like, I'll never start again. So I just kept running. And so here I am running. My watch is on auto pause, and I was having like the shits every mile. And so my watch would like pause. I mean, and we're running through Houston. So I'm like in the Arboretum, I'm like, sorry, I'm like flowering your flowers or whatever. Like
flowering your flowers.
Oh my God. And I was wearing a white skirt. So it's like white skirt. It's raining. I'm the only one running because most of the people had pulled off. And I was like, sorry, I just can't. So I keep running. And then every mile at least I'm like stopping, and I'm just like having to pull over in the shrubs, and my watch is buzzing. And so my watch buzzes. I pull over in the shrubs, flower the flowers. My watch buzzes as I keep going. I mean, it was a disaster.
It's so funny because you need fertilize the flowers, don't you?
Yes, I need fertilize the flowers. I do.
Okay.
I mean, but it was like.
So after the race, I mean, did other people get sick?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then, so what is the course of treatment for that? Is it like antibiotics, or that's just like it's a virus that you have to just work through, or did you continue to have issues afterwards? Like what
No, I mean,
do
it's,
they do?
you know, after you do an Ironman, your GI is often kind of wonky for a few days anyway. So, and
yeah.
I'm pretty lucky. I've got a really good immune system, knock on wood. So I was okay. It just kind of ran its course. But I mean, I'm sure you could pick up a bug where you would need to go and like, you know, it's like if you travel sometimes and you maybe get a little GI distress in like, you know, a developing country or whatever, and you come back and like some people will fend it off, but sometimes, you know, you can need to go and get some medication and it can turn into something. So yeah, no, it's not good.
I'm so curious to see what's going to happen. Maybe by the time this episode airs, we'll know. So what did you want to tell us about the
Trials.
The trials.
So we've been watching the swim trials this week, of course, which I love. But it was so interesting because I love watching the swim part of the trials. But what I really love is the little nuggets of insight that the announcers comment on about the athletes and like kind of the insights into the things that they've gone through or like their trials and tribulations. I just feel like you can learn so much about what elite athletes are doing when you are listening to the commentators in something like that. It's the same when you're watching like an Ironman like Kona and like you have the announcers and you hear really good wisdom nuggets about like what athletes are doing at that level to like recover or all of that kind of stuff. But so I was listening and, you know, all of these athletes are here to try to qualify for the Olympics. And in swimming, it's in all of the individual events, it's really the top two that go. So they meet an Olympic qualifying standard to qualify to go to the trials. So that's a time standard. But once you are in the trials to actually go to the Olympics, it's not by time, it's by place. So you don't really know. So it's open field for whoever, right? And so, you know, there's no guarantee. And I was watching over and over and over again. And the thing that struck me that was so interesting is that there were very few athletes who were actually setting PRs at this meet. There were like a handful of them. And they were like, this is their personal best swim that they've ever swam. And remember, this is like, these athletes are trying to qualify for the Olympics and they're still not hitting their personal best lifetime swims.
No, is
right?
that because strategically they're trying to hold back a little bit? Or?
Well, so we're going to talk about that. For some, like for swimming and the way that it goes, like you have to swim an event 3 times for most of the event. So there's 2 rounds of semifinals and then there's the finals. So like, for example, if I, for me to like, if I was going to swim the 200 freestyle, which is 8 lengths of the pool, like I've hit my time trial qualifying time to be able to go to the actual trials. And then like I have to make it through 2 rounds of semifinals and then I swim the finals to actually be the person that goes. So you have to swim
the
the
top
3
2
times.
of the semifinal goes to the next
semifinal. It's not like
exactly.
I think it's the top 4 from each semifinals and so
then,
anyway you end up your final event, the final like race that actually will pick the people who go on to the Olympics is the 8 swimmers that have made it through 2 rounds of semifinals. Okay. So you've got these 8 swimmers and then they go on and whoever wins the final event. I mean, swimming's are the people who go. But what I found so interesting is like, for example, Lily King is a breaststroker and she has the American record and the world record for the 200 breaststroke. And she's had those since 2018. So what that means is that her personal best swimming was done in the year 2018. It is now 2024. So that means she has trained at an Olympic level for 6 years without ever hitting her personal best time again. And I just want people to think about that because, you know, there was also Caleb Dressel has won like 7 gold medals. He won gold in the last Olympics for the 100 freestyle. This time he comes back and he didn't make the cut to even swim the 100 freestyle at this next Olympics. Now he is going to be able to swim on the relay, but you know, he went from being a gold medalist in the last Olympics to not making it in this event for this Olympics.
Now, is that because his times have gotten slower or just the competition has gotten better?
And because, you know, he didn't make it in the 100 free. And with swimming, you are literally talking about hundredths of a second. Yeah. Right? Hundredths of a second. But yeah. And so, but the reason that I found this so interesting is because, you know, I think I look at us as amateur athletes and it's so many of like, the mentality shift that is required as you evolve in a sport. And so, you see athletes, like, can you imagine training at an Olympic level for 6 years and never hitting another PR? Right?
It would be a real struggle.
Well, and so what that requires is a very different mental space. And so what and I brought this back to the athletes that I work with, because you can see, so I remember when we brought in, it's actually, we both have used this fellow for to do renovations on our house and our offices.
Oh, yes.
Shaq built. We'll give him a huge shout out. He's fantastic. If you need anything done, he's just a dear, and they do such good work. But one of the things that he did when we were getting ready to renovate our house was to sit down with a flow chart of the emotions that we were going to go through.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Right?
The ups and downs.
The ups and downs of what you were going to go through over, I mean, the stuff that we did required, like, I think it was at least 18 months, like, and by the time it was years, right?
Oh my God.
And so, and he sat down and he was like, this is the expectation. And as you move through the house renovation, this is what you're going to do. Yep. And that was correct, right?
It was spot on.
It was spot on. And you see, and I bring that up because I wish when I had an athlete that was coming into endurance sport that I could sit down with them and be like, this is the emotional trajectory of what's going to happen. As you physically evolve, your mental space is also going to shift with it, but it's going to feel lonely, and you're not going to know what's going to happen, and you're going to feel like something is wrong with you. But because we don't really talk about like the
ups and downs of that.
Yeah, but it's more than just the ups and downs, because it's not just like, oh, I feel good about this race, or, oh, I'm worried about this race. It's what I'm talking about is like so I see an athlete come in to the sport and like it's new and it's shiny. They're learning new skills. Mm-hmm. They're setting all of these PRs. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely, fear is a natural motivator, right? And so you have all of these things that about your situation that are creating a good mental space for getting your workouts done and feeling motivated to get up in the morning and then performing, and all of that stuff is naturally helping you form the mindset you need to get that stuff done.
And
right?
then as we
and
go.
Then, right? Like you've done it for a long time, or you've had some tough races and you're not hitting a PR, or, it's like, then the grind sets in, right? And that can take, it depends on how long and how excited people are. But, that can happen. For some people, that happens after a couple months in triathlon. For some people, it's like that new and exciting and like big stuff may take a couple years, and then like you're, third, fourth, fifth year into training, and it's like all of a sudden everything is really shifted. Like you're having to work really hard. Maybe you didn't rest right in those first few years, and so now you're feeling the like delayed effect of not resting enough, and so you can't figure out why your body's really flat and you can't recover, and like all of this stuff that creates a mental space where it's like suddenly you are then required to figure out how to build a mental space that helps you get up in the morning, that allows you to go out and race even when you're not getting a PR, that, it's a very different space. Or maybe, you're getting older and you're not going to hit those times anymore. Yeah. And so it becomes, and so you've come into the sport and like, you didn't have to worry about your mental space because it's something that just naturally kind of happened. And then you hit the part where it's like, I think that's where rubber meets the road with endurance sports. It's like when you don't have the things that are just naturally occurring to create the mental space that gives you that edge.
I have athletes that will say, I need to find the joy in running again.
100%. And and the thing is, it's like not only is the joy gone, but then you really have created this like this tunnel and this wormhole you go down, because it's not even about enjoyment. Like you're not setting any PRs. You're dealing with injury. You're dealing with
the injuries
and
that can really.
And so it is your job as an athlete to figure that shit out, right? It is like this, like my mental space is work, and it requires like reframing and finding a different reason for why, and letting things go, and learning how. You then have to put as much work into building a competitive mind space as you did when you first started and it was natural. And that is incredibly difficult to do. And I really have liked watching the trials, because it's like we are seeing all of these athletes at the very top echelons of world sports, and they are having to get there knowing that they PR'd 6 years ago and they may never see that again, right? And to get up every day and to find that drive, and also to know that that's normal. Like right. I think we fail to appreciate what must come together to have a PR. Like, it is such a beautiful and rare
all the stars have to align on the day, assuming all the training went well.
And it does. And I think that is such an underappreciated, like, you may get, 1, 2, 3 moments like that in your whole life in sports, right? Yeah. And I think that isn't something that we really talk about and emphasize enough, that there is a hell of a lot of times when you are out there learning valuable things and probably doing PRs in other areas that just aren't reflecting in the time. Like, maybe this time you got your nutrition right, or this time you managed the heat well.
And celebrating those little goals too along the way, rather than just your time.
It's so important. And the thing is that you're never going to get the time if you don't understand the value in those things as well.
Right.
Like, I have an athlete that I've been working with, and it has taken us years to get to the point where we have developed, for a lot of different reasons, developed her ability to, like, manage the heat and to do well in the heat. And she was able to go out this week, and she did her VO2 workouts on the track in the middle of the day, hitting some paces that are some of the best paces she's ever hit in training. And it was 90 to 100 degrees this week.
Big, huge win.
But that's been 5 years of work of like doing that. And it's like, but now you can hit those times of training that will allow you to race better. Anyway, my point is just that it is really, really one, we underappreciate what goes into setting those PRs.
Yep.
2, it is really, really difficult to cultivate the mindset that is required to keep going once the shine has worn off. Yep. And 3, it's so normal.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at those people at the top part of the sport and figure out, how are they doing? They have to let things go. They have to set new goals that are appropriate for where they are. They have to figure out how to motivate. And you know what? A lot of it's not motivation, it's habit. Being committed to that habit. And it's just, I love seeing that, and like how many people there didn't set their PRs and they're there to qualify for the Olympics. And like, that is golden information for the rest of us as athletes.
And what I like to do is, and I'll do this with my athletes as well, but for myself personally, is to say, you know what? This is my first race, and I'm going to PR since I turned this age.
Yeah.
Or since this thing has happened to me, since my autoimmune diagnosis, or since my knee surgery. Like, we get to start over, clean slate. We're not going to compare what we did 10 years ago or even 3 years ago, but it's being able to break that down for ourselves and to be able to say, I'm going to do my best with this thing, this situation, this time period in my life.
Well, you know what that reminds me, because I was also watching the diving trials.
Ooh.
And they were talking about how and I was watching the I can't remember, I'm blanking on the name of it, but where it's 2 of them where they have to do it synchro,
the
synchro diving, which is just bananas. But they were interviewing and then talking about how the people that were in contention for medals were not tracking the points. They didn't know where they were on the point scale. And they were talking about, because and they did this with 3 different teams, because they knew that they needed to show up and do what they needed to do. It wasn't about what the other people were doing, right? And so it wasn't about, like, their job wasn't to focus on what the other people were doing and what their points were, because what the other people were doing and the point score wasn't going to help them do what they needed to do. And so it was about them focusing. And that, especially, between that and then the fact that actually qualifying for the Olympics in that final swim wasn't a time cutoff. It was who showed up and how they swam. And that reminds me so much of triathlon, and especially, like, there are no time. I mean, there's no time cutoff for triathlon. If, like, you want to get on the podium or you want to qualify for Kona, it's who shows up and how they did the race. And how you're going to race doesn't matter for shit how somebody else is going to race, right? And so you can focus and loop on other people and what they're doing and what their Facebook says. But at the end of the day, if you haven't paid attention and, like, hit all of your, like, celebrated your victories in terms of you've figured out your nutrition or you figured out how to do it in the heat, and you are paying attention to every single one of those details for the entire time you're out there on the course, like, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to get the most out of your fitness if you don't manage those things, and it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. And I was like, that's so fascinating. Like, that's such, and I feel like the announcers just breeze through that, and I'm like, that information there is the most important thing you could say for every athlete on the planet.
Yeah.
You're not focusing on what the other people are doing. You're focusing on getting your own shit done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
It doesn't matter what the other divers are doing.
Good lessons for all of us.
I get fired up.
Yes, you do.
Oh my God. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, we are in this together.
Until next time.